I love this. The Baltimore Ravens just got some really encouraging news on their secondary, and Nate Wiggins and Marlon Humphrey are both trending towards a return next week, and it gives Baltimore a way better outlook heading into the regular season. But with both guys sitting out on Saturday, we're getting into that bit of the preseason, the part I really love, finding out which young players for the Baltimore Ravens are ready to make a name for themselves, whether it's Jacoby Lane, TJ Tampa, Elijah Tau-Tolliver, Carson Vinson, Basil Okoye. We're going to get into all of that with the preseason and these standout guys that we are looking forward to see get their first bit of preseason action, whether it is a rookie or somebody fighting for that depth chart spot. So let's get into the injury updates between Marlon Humphrey and Nate Wiggins and what it means for this defense, as well as the 5 players that I'm watching very closely going into this preseason opener. But before we get into today's video, you guys are going to want to make sure to subscribe to Ravens Digest. 70% of you guys are not subscribed. It is completely free, no cost, no price at all. And we're providing daily Baltimore Ravens updates, rumors, videos, and all things Baltimore Ravens. You guys are not going to want to miss out on any of the content we are providing at all. But now, let's talk about the Nate Wiggins situation and the Marlon Humphrey situation in terms of the Baltimore Ravens cornerback room. And let's start with Nate Wiggins because I'm not going to spend too much time here. We've already discussed it in previous videos. But the good news is very, very simple. Nate Wiggins avoided structural damage in his left knee or left leg. And now Jesse Minter says that Wiggins is trending in a positive direction and looks like he's going to return to practice next week. He'll definitely miss the preseason opener, and this is exactly what Baltimore Ravens fans and the team wanted to see after getting the scare last week of terms of an injury for Nate Wiggins. And yes, again, he's going to miss the preseason opener, which is completely fine, but everything we're hearing right now is him positively trending towards a minor setback rather than something that is going to keep him out for an extended period of time. And this is a massive, massive win for the Baltimore Ravens and the Baltimore Ravens secondary. But Nate Wiggins isn't the only person in that cornerback room to keep an eye on, as we saw a bit of injury news regarding Marlon Humphrey, and he is also trending in a positive direction. He left Wednesday's practice with an undisclosed issue, and now Jesse Minter is giving the Baltimore Ravens some really good news on him. Minter says that both Wiggins and Humphrey are both trending in the same direction towards a potential return next week in the early situations, and both situations are relatively small, and they both missed out on a massive injury. And this is really, really important because Marlon Humphrey is not just a player on this defense that you can kind of pass over. Marlon Humphrey is a key contributor for the Baltimore Ravens, and he's been around the Baltimore Ravens for a long time. In pretty much every type of situation in the NFL that a defense can throw at you, Marlon Humphrey can adjust and work on the fly. And he is somebody that the secondary can really lean on when things get difficult. But with the new system of Anthony Weaver, Marlon Humphrey and having him healthy is very, very valuable for what Anthony Weaver's capabilities and what he wants to do within this defense. They are trying to bring back a different identity this season. They already have Nate Wiggins on the outside. We have Chidobe Awuzie. We have Kyle Hamilton. We have Malachi Starks. So making sure that Marlon Humphrey is that veteran piece who has been around and is able to contribute is huge. So getting him back next week injury-free is a very big update for the Baltimore Ravens. But here's the part I really, really like about this situation as a whole, because Baltimore doesn't need any of these guys on Saturday. We already know they are pivotal starters for the Baltimore Ravens and they can contribute for the Baltimore Ravens. But instead, it really gives us a chance to see what players behind them can actually do going into this upcoming season. And this is where the preseason is really going to be fun, and I'm very excited against this game for the Eagles. But let's start with the most obvious one of the entire camp, rookie Jacoby Lane. His production has been insane this entire training camp, and he has been one of the most talked about young players throughout the entirety of camp, and now he gets his real opportunity to turn all of that practice attention into game production. We've already seen the physical traits. We already know about the strength of his hands and the way that his catch radius is, and based on what he's already done at USC, we've seen the highlight tape. But Saturday is going to be completely different. He's going against the Philadelphia Eagles. These are actual game reps against actual players. Even if they are 2 stringers or 3 stringers, whatever the case may be, some of their starters will actually get game reps. And I will be watching Jacoby Lane as a whole to see what he can contribute in terms of production this preseason. Will it be his ability to catch the ball at the catch point? Will he be creating that separation at the technique of his routes? Does he make the quarterback very comfortable throwing in his direction? And does he make plays when the ball isn't perfectly placed in terms of his catching ability? And most importantly, does he look like a player who belongs in the NFL and for the Baltimore Ravens? And because if Lane starts to do this and continuously does what he did in the preseason and in training camp, the Baltimore Ravens are going to have to find ways to get him involved, and he could be a very much dark horse starter going into the regular season. And while Lane is one of those offensive players that is talked about currently amongst the Baltimore Ravens fan community and amongst Baltimore Ravens hypers, another name I'm really interested in seeing is TJ Tampa. I'm very interested in seeing these good practices he's been stacking on, and with Nate Wiggins and Marlon Humphrey both unavailable this Saturday, Tampa is going to have that opportunity to show the Ravens exactly where he stands. This is where younger corners are going to have to take advantage of their opportunities. You don't need to make a spectacular one-handed interception. You just need to be consistent. You need to stay in position. You need to finish your tackles, and you need to communicate within your defense. Don't get beat over the top. Don't allow these Schmitty deep balls. When the ball is coming your way, make a play. Be a difference maker. And Tampa has already been getting positive attention throughout camp and been showing positive signs. So now he can take all of this into an actual preseason game. And if he plays really well, this is something the Ravens can build within going towards the rest of August. Now, let's move to another player I've talked about previously in a video as a sleeper, and I think if he has some productive preseason minutes, it could really change his entire situation. And the player I'm talking about is Tau-Tolliver. This guy I'm genuinely excited to watch. He's not walking into Baltimore with some obvious path at a running back one position. He is a young running back who needs to take advantage of the opportunities he is given and make the coaching staff think twice about him. And that's why this Saturday matters and the rest of the preseason really matters. I want to see his burst. I want to see his vision within these running holes. I want to see how decisive he is on the field. I want to see whether he protects the football or if he has a fumbling issue. I especially want to see what he can do other than the run game and if he is a catching threat and a receiving threat, something that we can use in a Justice Hill perspective. Can he block? Is he going to be a contributor on special teams? Because this is how you turn yourself from a long shot prospect into somebody the Baltimore Ravens are thinking about actually having to keep within the regular season. And if Tau-Tolliver comes out and makes these spectacular and explosive plays, suddenly that conversation will change within that running back room. And then you've got a position that the Baltimore Ravens have been fighting for this entire offseason to find a keepable player, and it is that offensive line. And a player I am looking out for in this offensive line in this young preseason is Carson Vinson. He is another player that I think has a lot of potential in terms of answering the Baltimore Ravens depth questions. The Baltimore Ravens need dependable players behind their starting tackles, and finding a younger tackle to trust is not easy at all. This is why Vinson's reps are really going to matter. Philadelphia is a team that has a lot of edge rushers that can test him in multiple different ways, from a Jalen Carter to a Nakobe Dean at a linebacker spot. These speed guys, these power rush guys who can really get him off balance. And I'm trying to see if Carson Vinson will give up into this pressure. I want to see how he responds. Does he stay balanced? Is he going to recognize what the defense is trying to do in terms of rushing stunts? Does he finish blocks? Does he avoid penalties and holding calls? And if Vinson can put together a very clean and physical game, the Baltimore Ravens will have some questions answered, and it is going to help his case tremendously from an offensive line perspective. And finally, one of the guys on the Baltimore Ravens who is one of the most physical, imposing players and somebody who has already gotten some NFL experience but can turn that physical into real production is Basil Okoye. And at this point, I don't think we need to look at Okoye as an international development star anymore. He is 6'6", 365 pounds, and he played in 13 games last season and had 15 tackles. He is a massive human being, and all of these physical traits are not the question at all. It is whether his technique and his consistency are going to catch up in terms of his NFL production. And this is what I want to see from him in this upcoming preseason. Is he effective with his size? Does he cause disruption on the defensive end? Can he use this and hold up against the run? And can he consistently win against these offensive linemen instead of just throwing flashes that he could be somebody in the Ravens organization? If Okoye puts this all together, Baltimore is going to to have something really interesting on this defensive line. And why does this all matter for Jesse Minter and what Jesse Minter is trying to build? It is very, very simple. I love this part of the preseason. We're not wondering if Lamar Jackson can play football. We already know this. We're not wondering if Derrick Henry is going to produce. We already know this. We've seen it with our own eyes. This is us trying to figure out what is next for the Baltimore Ravens in these depth positions and who is going to take these few preseason snaps and turn them into bigger opportunities. Jacoby Lane could be a player who really becomes a part of this receiving group. I'm very excited about Jacoby Lane. I think he could be a very intriguing receiver prospect for the Baltimore Ravens. In terms of TJ Tampa, is he a player who can produce on the defensive side of the ball? We already know about the running back room of the Baltimore Ravens, and as we talked about, Tau-Tolliver is a player who could really contribute in terms of that running back room and make that competition very interesting. We know about Carson Vinson as a whole, and Okoye is a player who is really fighting for that defensive snap opportunity behind these other defensive linemen. But none of these guys need to have a perfect game going into this upcoming game against the Philadelphia Eagles. They just need to give us a reason to keep watching them from that perspective, because the Baltimore Ravens are really getting started in this preseason game, and this game is not deciding the roster as a whole. It is building the trajectory of these players. We have a new coaching staff, we have a new offensive coordinator, and a new defensive coordinator. And a lot of these younger guys for the Baltimore Ravens are just trying to establish themselves in this new regime. And Saturday is this real opportunity to see what is ahead, and I'm very excited to see who can contribute for the Baltimore Ravens. So now, the injury news that we got is exactly what Baltimore Ravens fans wanted to hear. Nate Wiggins and Marlon Humphrey hopefully returning this week and in the next couple weeks in a positive perspective. But now we can focus on the fun stuff. Jacoby Lane, TJ Tampa, Elijah Tau-Tolliver. Which of these guys are going to prove something this Saturday against the Philadelphia Eagles in that first preseason game? I'm very excited to see these players, and I want to know who you guys think will be the biggest contributor and the biggest sleeper in terms of production this entire preseason. But that's all for today's video. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new. We are turning on all Baltimore Ravens updates, news, and all rumors. So make sure, hit that like button, turn on the post notifications so you don't miss a Ravens update. And we're covering the preseason, the regular season, and all things Baltimore Ravens. You guys are not going to want to miss out. My name is Alassane, and I'll see you guys in the next one. And until then, Ravens flock always.